Kimi Antonelli has a really big reason to be mad. People are saying he might get replaced by Max Verstappen starting in 2026, even though he has a strong contract with the Silver Arrows that should keep him there until the end of next year. Some things that happen could make the Italian driver go to Alpine instead. But is this the right thing for Mercedes to do? And if it's not, how can it hurt them? The situation between Mercedes and Antonelli could get really bad very soon because Max Verstappen coming to the team, which seems more and more likely every day, is making people question if the Italian driver will stay with the Silver Arrows. Yes, I think that if a driver had to leave the Brackley Bay team so Max could join, that should be Russell because Antonelli has so much talent. But Kimi got promoted in a weird way. Nobody thought Hamilton would leave Mercedes so fast. The original plan would have been like what Russell did, but now that everything is set up, it's really hard to think that Mercedes would demote Antonelli just because Verstappen is available. But at the end of the day, the Silver Arrows know what they're doing. They have a special chance to sign Verstappen, and some sacrifices have to be made. Russell is at the best time in his career, and he's shown that if the car can win races, he would definitely be a top person to win races and finally bring back the glory to Mercedes. So to replace him with Max, who doesn't really want to race until he's in his 40s, might not be the smartest idea after all. And what's even more important is that Mercedes will have a really good chance to compare how Max and Russell perform in the same car. We've seen that once Red Bull got worse and Mercedes found more speed, the British driver was able to get closer to Max in both qualifying and race speed. But we haven't seen them drive as teammates next to each other. So with this in mind, I really doubt that Wolff will miss the chance to see what his current favorite and the one he missed signing a long time ago drive on the same team. It's the only chance to end all the rumors. Max has proven himself to be one of the best drivers at adapting on the grid, while Russell would have to defend the leader spot he currently has under Wolff's command. But the sacrifice is just too big. What if by doing this dangerous experiment, you somehow lose Antonelli? Obviously you know that he is the promised champion for your team. Maybe not now, maybe not in 1 to 2 years, but it's definitely not going to take that long before he becomes a championship-winning driver. Still, he is a bit too young and he might have found himself in a really tricky situation. Just before the beginning of the new rules, Verstappen and his exit clause became very popular, and Russell could be the one to beat the Dutch driver from his own team. If he gets into the top 3 in the next 2 weekends in Spa and Hungary, which isn't too hard to imagine now that the difference is just 18 points, then Verstappen might decide that enough is enough and Mercedes is the next best choice for him. The Brackley Bay team are expected to be the leaders to be dominant in the newly regulated era because of the previous control they've had in making engines. Ferrari and Honda will likely be close to equal, and that would be the deciding factor for Verstappen to join Mercedes when push comes to shove. This is something that has been talked about by Gunther Steiner. The former team boss of H. Steiner believes that the only way Wolff will get answers to all of his questions is if he puts Russell and Max in the same car and then sees who deserves to have the seat starting from 2027 onwards with Antonelli next to them. Furthermore, he said, how could Mercedes replace George with Max and leave Antonelli there if Mercedes wants to win a world championship? Kimi did one good race in Canada. The rest? How many good races did he have? Not many. So, you take George out who is doing a good job. Like him or not, he won a race in Canada, so he's obviously a good leader there. I think Mercedes would need to take Kimi out to put Max in. I would understand that one at the moment, saying, hey, Kimi, let's do a year at Alpine or Williams, wherever. Build it up. He's a good driver, but he needs to get experience. Being thrown in at that age in a car that could win races and you don't win, it's not good for your growth. So, that's difficult. All in all, it's not good news for Ant. He could get himself in a really bad position because he's shown some extreme talent and some great races. Even a pole position in Miami and a podium finish in Canada. And that might not even be enough for him to keep his seat. Yes, it's definitely not a long-term situation because whether we like it or not, Antonelli is built for the big stage and I don't think Alpine is going to reach that in a short time. Quite the opposite. I think that the Enstone-based team are going to benefit a lot by having Kimi on their team because not only will he put a lot of pressure on Gasly, but he'll definitely be able to help them out in bringing the car closer to the front and making it stronger in the midfield. Even Toto Wolff said that every lineup in Mercedes is possible from 2026 onwards, hinting that just because Antonelli has a contract, it doesn't automatically mean that he's going to be served with the privilege of not being replaced. It's Max Verstappen we're talking about. And explaining more about this, he said, I can imagine every lineup in Mercedes. I had Rosberg and Hamilton fighting for a world championship, so everything else afterwards is easy. There are pros and cons of having 2 drivers fighting each other hard, and we've seen examples where that works and other examples where it didn't. And make no mistake, Mercedes is going to push for Verstappen with every force available. After the green light that has been given to them by the CEO of the team, Ola Kenius, I don't think Wolff would need much more to complete this pursuit. At the end of the day, I don't think you could blame Wolff for wanting to do what he plans to do. He has the chance to create one of the strongest, if not the strongest, lineups on the grid. He managed a similar one back in 2016, and while Max and Russell could pose a different threat from the management point of view, the collateral damage in the form of Antonelli will be very big. I know that a temporary home is not that bad of a thing, especially when you are preparing to be world champion one day. Especially not with Alpine, a team that would use your engines from 2026 onwards. But when you started in Mercedes, had such a strong first half of the season that is yet to end, and then had to accept that two alpha males would have to battle it out with you standing on the sidelines. I don't think it's such an acceptable scenario for Kimi at all. You're literally labeled as a generational talent, someone who can dominate with the proper car. And now that Mercedes is very close to that car in 2026, new regulations? Could you actually blame Kimi for feeling a bit bittersweet about this decision? Nothing's been made yet. Antonelli has a contract for 2026, and when push comes to shove, I think that Russell is the one who should fear more for his seat. But then again, it's up to Mercedes to decide which direction they are going to move into. All in all, the situation is getting very serious in Mercedes because Max creates a lot of headaches for everyone involved. Red Bull too. Mercedes as a team is very close to signing the four-time world champion as their driver, but they would have to give up a big chunk of sacrifice to make this operation successful. Antonelli might see himself in a very different position because of how Russell and Max stand against each other, but a stint in Alpine could have one of two things. The first one is he either gets tons of experience, and when he gets back in Mercedes he will be a much more mature driver. The second option is that he gets distanced from the team, and if he does that, other squads would literally kill to have Kimi on their rows. With all this in mind, do you think that Kimi Antonelli is going to take a bit of a sacrifice for Mercedes and leave his seat to Verstappen so that the Dutchman and Russell are going to fight it out between each other? And more importantly, if he does that, do you think that this would be the best option for all sides involved? Let us know in the comments below, and once you do that, make sure to click on the video that appears on your screen right now. Kimi Antonelli has a really big reason to be mad. People are saying he might get replaced by Max Verstappen starting in 2026, even though he has a strong contract with the Silver Arrows that should keep him there until the end of next year. Some things that happen could make the Italian driver go to Alpine instead, but is this the right thing for Mercedes to do? And if it's not, how can it hurt them? The situation between Mercedes and Antonelli could get really bad very soon because Max Verstappen coming to the team, which seems more and more likely every day, is making people question if the Italian driver will stay with the Silver Arrows. Yes. I think that if a driver had to leave the Brackley Bay team so Max could join, that should be Russell because Antonelli has so much talent. But Kimi got promoted in a weird way. Nobody thought Hamilton would leave Mercedes so fast. The original plan would have been like what Russell did, but now that everything is set up, it's really hard to think that Mercedes would demote Antonelli just because Verstappen is available. But at the end of the day, the Silver Arrows know what they're doing. They have a special chance to sign Verstappen, and some sacrifices have to be made. Russell is at the best time in his career, and he's shown that if the car can win races, he would definitely be a top person to win races and finally bring back the glory to Mercedes.